Hello, Earthlings. This is Deb Helfrich, www.insightsoccur.com. I'm currently working on launching a global symposium employing philosophy to unite African, Eastern, and Western healthcare approaches to do-it-yourself quality of life improvement. Fiddling with that. But this is a major deal. And I'm very excited to talk to you a little bit about why philosophers should be promoted, both into queens and kings of the next global civilization, and as in like social media, just share this shit, right? Because this is important. I was just recently talking about my degree, which is I do have a degree in philosophy from Carnegie Mellon University. A good focus, I did a broad spectrum of studies, but I did focus predominantly on aesthetics in my area of interest, which is the philosophy of beauty, which is an African ideal in my life. Now, one of the things that I was just talking to a friend who showcases African art on LinkedIn, and I had to, Gombrich came up, the one of the standard texts of art history. And I said, and the other thing that I like to push against as far as that text having no representations of African art and beauty and humanity is Andy Warhol. I certainly don't associate him in any way, shape, or form with the African continent. However, I can pull a really good trick out of my hat and use Warhol as somebody who can talk a lot about being an anti-racism. He didn't. I mean, I'm the one that has to talk about it, but Andy Warhol is pretty well known for a lot of different kinds of art, but the one that's really interesting philosophically is the Brillo boxes and soup cans, where he took items from a nearby store that we would have labeled in the past, perhaps Korean. And from this nearby mini market, picked up some stuff, took it to an art gallery, stuck it on a pedestal. There were some Campbell soup cans. People pay money. Not the what was in early 70s. So 29 cents a can of soup. $300. I don't actually know how much money he made. And the point was not how much money he made. The point was that people were even willing to consider paying money. And of course, there were photographs and lots of art criticisms being talked about. Now, one of the things that came out of that art of putting regular old stuff on a pedestal was a book called Transfiguration of the Commonplace by Arthur Danto, the professor of my professor at Carnegie Mellon, David Carrier, in between. Danto is at Columbia. Well, I mean, he's actually probably not still with us. But at the time of Warhol putting soup cans in a gallery, he was a philosophy professor at Columbia. And the interesting thing is that he used Nietzsche's construct of God is dead to pronounce that art was dead, that these Brillo boxes had literally assassinated art. Now, you got to go into the philosophy of this, but in a very real way, it was true. Up until that point, art had been about representation. And, people had to get better and better and better at their craft, whether that was physical sculpture or painting. There were actual crafts and skills and techniques and a journey of a lifetime for many artists. Nobody can purchase something next door and go, I'm saying it's art, therefore you pay me a lot more money. Art is dead and it's become philosophy. It's the thinking about an object that makes it art. And that's both from the purpose and the intention of the human who's setting out to create art, from the purpose and intention of the human assessing something as art. So the interesting thing is Deb, seeing Nietzsche and seeing Danto as colleagues, as a philosopher, as a well-being philosopher, I'm now going to become pretty well known for a couple more formulations. Math is dead, which I prove with my little context of when 1 + 1 = 3. And also that science is dead. And science is dead. This is a complex situation. It's about this whole show me the study culture, where studies are being paid for by corporations trying to make money. And yet we say that this is the standard of intellect, of knowledge. It's all being bought and paid for, y'all. Therefore, we discount so much ancestral wisdom that we don't even know how to stay well anymore. We've got to unite really good science. Again, just like God is dead, there's still faith. Art was dead, we're still making art. Math and science are still important when we understand what they do. But math is about counting. Life doesn't count the way pens and papers and widgets count. And science is not just about math. It's not just about microscopes and telescopes and all kinds of electricity, hadron colliders. Excuse me, how are we going to recycle the Hadron Collider? What's it got, another like 3 to 7 years? It's just going to stop working. Then we done put this. There's an easier way to do science. It's called philosophy. It's called hypotheses. It's what Einstein did. Yeah, so then people spent a whole bunch of money figuring out how to prove him, but he used his analytically creative mind. That's what well-being philosophy is all about. It's about the fact that I physically healed myself of a number of chronic diseases, including lifelong obesity since I was a toddler, just by thinking differently about what fat was, about what everyone's saying. There are really important universes in our brain that I'm now about to create a global symposium to talk about, uniting African, Eastern, and Western approaches to do-it-yourself well-being. All right, that was a little nugget of what's to come, and I'm going to shut us down here at about 8.5 minutes. I hope you are having a great time. Again, this was Deb Helfrich, www.insightsoccur.com. It was lovely talking to you today, August 19th, 2020.